Good day, and welcome to another episode of Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist, another light in this darkened world. I'm your host, Penny L.A. Shepherd, and I am Agent X11. My co-hosts are David Zublik, Heather Day, Joan Renee, Skip Press, Chris Montgomery, Terry Bradley, Katie Bradley, Tom Outhouse, Jessica Garza, Howard Lamson, Dr. Keith Pablo, and TJ Ward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist, begins now. And welcome to another episode of Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist. My name is Penny L.A. Shepherd. I never know if I'm like on the screen or not when I'm saying that. My name is Penny L.A. Shepherd, and I am Agent X11. I am joined today, and this is Dr. U's Universe. I'll just turn on the headlights there so everybody knows who everybody is. And Stephen, I'm just gonna rearrange some things. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna move you, change you guys around, move it like that. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
And this is actually Brian Singh Presents, one of his segments. And so welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, Brian, Joan Renee, Stephen Sanchez, and Dr. Weeping You, two NASA scientists, rocket scientists. You know, what do you guys say when they say, well, you're not a rocket scientist? You're like, actually, I am.
It's really interesting that we're having this discussion because the Epstein files, of which another tranche was released by the Department of Justice a couple of days ago, there's a lot of revelations about alternative physicist Deepak Chopra being involved. Yes, friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And then they were having ongoing discussions about things like transhumanism and pandemics. Yes, and Ukraine and all sorts of things. And so, I just wanted to throw out Deepak Chopra's name because I remember very much during the late 90s or early 2000s when he was the hot, thing crossing over Eastern mysticism and Western physics. And not that, that was a bad thing, but it can be shown how, he took that cachet that he had and he turned into a monster. And so that's, let this be a lesson that whatever knowledge or information someone brings, that doesn't, sometimes you have to separate the information from the person.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We're finding out so many, as our audience may know, I do the Awake Nation News. And so I'm reporting on many of these subjects, and it's more dark and dastardly than we could have ever imagined. Some of the things that are coming out, something like 5 million documents. Whatever we received the first time, trying to vet what is real, what's not, what was, part of his blackmail scheme. We did a video on the discovery of what is actually on his island. There was something weird that was like he has 2 stairways that go nowhere, but in one of them there is a statue of an ape, and I'm not sure why that's there.
The comments said it was because they were. He said it was in the comments. It said because they were monkeying around.
Yeah, right. No, I personally think that King Kong was talking to Epstein. That's just my,
Oh my goodness.
thoughts. No, nobody. Okay.
Well, Epstein was a tool wholeheartedly of the Rothschilds.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
And then this goes back to the Khazarian mafia and this region, going all the way back to the days of Babylon in the Middle East and the Canaanites. And that's why Anya Wick, a niece of Jeffrey Epstein, and daughter of Mark Epstein, aka Puggy, she says that they openly, or at least behind the scenes, they call themselves the cult of Baal. And then, as we know in the Bible, Baal and Molech worship goes all the way back to the days of Aaron, and at least before then.
You know what was interesting? We had Gary Wayne on the show, and he does all of the research for tying into not just the biblical, but all the texts of that period of time, and tries to tie everything together. And what he said is the way that it's structured is that all the secret societies feed up into a secret society. There is the Rothschilds, there is Switzerland, but above them, they answer to non-humans. And so this is, that also feeds into not just what the Bible says, but also the extraterrestrial.
Right. Yep. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but powers of darkness, principalities, higher realms, other places.
I mean, apparently Trump is allegedly going to disclose July 8th, 4 days after Independence Day. So we'll see if that actually, happens in regards to we are not alone. We've extended our time on the show. Cool. So we're going to go a little bit longer, and some of the subjects we're going to be discussing today are: there are no particles, you're made of quantum fields, not things. And that is from Steven Sanchez. And then we have a video on that. And then Dr. Weeping You will be telling us why quantum theory is wrong. And with that, we're going to play Dr. Yu's Universe. So if you need to go get something to drink, go get your coffee now.
Woo, ooh, it's Dr. Yu. Woo, ooh, it's Dr. Yu. Woo, ooh, it's Dr. Yu. Dr. Yu's Universe. Yeah. Spin on a cosmic ride. No up, no down, no left, no right. Dr. Yu's got stars in sight. We welcome you to Dr. Yu's Universe, where planets sing and comets dance. Tune into you. He's broadcasting from a cosmic trance. It's Dr. Yu. Welcome to Dr. Yu's Universe. Whoa. We all strangers in a strange land. Whoa. In the universe of stars and sand, where everything exists but not. Get ready to shout. What? Ooh, it's Dr. Yu. It's Dr. Yu. It's Dr. Yu. Dr. Yu's Universe. Yeah. Nothing is what what you thought you'd find. Get ready to adjust your mind. Forget all that you have read. Get maximum room, make space in your head. Welcome to Doctor Universe, where time does not exist. Listen to Doctor You. He's phoning in from Earth number 2. Yeah, he's calling from the cosmos just for you. It's Doctor You. It's Doctor You. It's Doctor You. Doctor U's universe. Doctor U's universe.
And we are back. And you know, Stephen, when we get together and we do a recording of this, of course you'll be, you know, playing on everything and recording it too. And we'll have the Dr. U's Universe Band. So we're going to begin with something that you sent to me, and it was very intriguing. It says there are no particles, which this is what we're talking about here. You're made of quantum fields, not things. So here we go.
Stop thinking about yourself as made of particles. Right now, because you're not, you think you're made of atoms. Tiny billiard balls bouncing around, held together by forces. Electrons orbiting nuclei. Quarks inside protons. Little solid things all the way down. But there are no particles.
Did it freeze?
There never were. That's not how reality works.
Can you not hear it?
You are not made of things. You are made of fields. Quantum fields that fill all of space.
Now it's good.
Yeah.
Vibrating in patterns so complex and so stable that they look like objects. You are not a collection of particles. You are a temporary knot of excitation in the universal field structure. You are not made of things. You are made of music. My name is Roger Penrose. I've spent my life working on the deepest structures of physics and mathematics, and I'm going to tell you something that will change how you see reality forever. The particle picture, the one you learnt in school, the one in every textbook, the one that seems so obvious and intuitive, is wrong. Not approximately wrong. Fundamentally wrong. Let me show you why. The story begins in the 1920s. Quantum mechanics had just been born. Physicists discovered that light, which everyone thought was a wave, sometimes behaved like particles. Photons, little packets of light, and electrons, which everyone thought were particles, sometimes behaved like waves. Wave-particle duality, the most famous mystery in physics. But here's what most people don't realize. Wave-particle duality was never solved by saying things are both waves and particles. That's a confused compromise. The actual solution, developed in the 1930s and 40s, was far more radical. The solution was quantum field theory. And quantum field theory says, there are no particles, only fields. Let me explain what a field is. A field is something that has a value at every point in space. Temperature is a field at every location in this room. The air has a temperature. The Earth's magnetic field is a field at every point near Earth. There's a magnetic field strength and direction. In quantum field theory, every type of particle corresponds to a field that fills all of space. There's an electron field pervading the entire universe. A quark field. A photon field. These fields are always there, everywhere, at every point in space, whether or not any particles exist. A particle is not a thing. A particle is a localized excitation in the field. A ripple, a wave, a knot of energy that has enough structure and stability that it looks approximately like a localized object. Think of the ocean. Waves on the ocean aren't made of wave stuff separate from water. They're patterns in the water, temporary disturbances that move through the medium. The wave isn't a thing, it's an event, a process, a configuration of the underlying substance. Particles are like that. An electron isn't a little ball floating in empty space. It's a localized excitation in the electron field. A ripple in a universal field that happens to be stable enough to persist and move through space in ways that look, from a distance, like a particle trajectory. But the field is fundamental. The particle is just a pattern in the field. Now, you might think this is just semantics. Fine, call them field excitations instead of particles. What's the difference? The difference is everything. Because once you understand that fields are fundamental, a dozen quantum mysteries suddenly make sense. Why can particles be created and destroyed? Because they're not things, they're patterns. Energy can go into the field and create an excitation. Energy can come out of the field and the excitation disappears. You can't create or destroy a thing, but you can absolutely create or destroy a pattern. Why do identical particles behave identically? Because there aren't separate particles. There's one electron field. Every electron is an excitation of the same field, so of course they're all identical. They're not different objects, they're different excitations of the same underlying reality. Why does quantum entanglement happen? Two particles that are entangled aren't really two separate things that happen to be correlated. They're a single pattern in the field that extends across space. When you measure one part of the pattern, the entire pattern responds because it was never divided in the first place. You are not separate from the universe. You are a pattern in the universal field structure, connected at the deepest level to every other pattern. Now let me take this further. Empty space. The vacuum isn't empty. The quantum fields are still there, filling space even when no particles exist. And those fields are never completely still, they fluctuate. Quantum fluctuations, virtual particles appearing and disappearing, borrowing energy from the vacuum for brief moments before paying it back. The vacuum is seething with activity, the electron field is fluctuating, the photon field is fluctuating, all the fields, everywhere, always vibrating at the quantum level, even when the average value is zero. This isn't speculation, we can measure this. The Casimir effect shows that two metal plates in vacuum experience a force because the quantum field fluctuations between the plates are different from the fluctuations outside. Virtual particles aren't hypothetical, they have measurable effects. Empty space is full. The universe is not made of matter floating in void. It's made of fields everywhere, always, fluctuating and occasionally organizing into stable patterns that we mistakenly call particles. You are not in space. You are a configuration of the fields that fill space. There is no you separate from the fields. You are what the fields are doing in this particular region of space-time. Now, here's where I become uncomfortable with the standard story.
I'm already
Quantum
weirded
field
out.
theory is the most successful theory in the history of physics.
Well, let's take a
Predicts
pause here.
experimental results with
Okay.
absurd precision, sometimes to
I have like 1,000 questions right
Well,
now.
Yeah.
and
We can stop this, and
Yeah.
I can answer all the questions for you.
And then real quick, I just want to go into just to summarize what Roger Penrose is saying. He's saying
Okay.
instead of conceptualizing all of us in physical reality as being particles and points in space that are accumulated together, he's saying look at all of us as if we're a song. We're a frequency of music dancing around. And then each and every one of us is our own song playing in the matrix, the ether. And then our songs can actually intertwine. We can start to sing together and quantum entangle or not. Okay. And so he's saying instead of, us looking at the world around us and breaking it down into this atomic particle based conception, think of all of us as like an energetic field vibrating within space, but being able to interact with each other in ways that particles never could.
Can I chime in on this too? Because I was seeing a
please.
parallel between that and programming. Because you start out with when you're doing a database, you have all of these fields. Each field is empty when you start, but certain fields will only accept certain patterns. But the combination together actually makes the software work for you. And when you come together, so when you start out with a database, it's all empty fields. And then we put the information in there, and some fields will accept some information, some others, depending on how it's set up. And I'm wondering if he got this theory looking at the structure of a database, and when he talks about the empty fields, any comment on that?
He was referring to Casimir plates. And these are when you take two metal plates and you put them really, really close together in a vacuum. And then, per conventional classical physics, nothing should happen. But what they find is there's some kind of quantum effect, or there's some kind of resonance, or in between these two plates, they form a cavity with some kind of energetics bouncing back and forth that is measurable. And then maybe either Dr. Yu or Stephen can comment more on that, the Casimir effect.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen, you want to jump in?
Well, because of they wanted to eliminate all possibilities of these plates being in very, 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 very close proximity in a vacuum. They wanted to rule out that there's anything disturbing the plates as they're close. But lo and what they behold is there was an attraction going on between the two plates because of their close proximity. Now that could be field based, because if you think about it, if they're made out of the same materials, it's like the same principle of having two tuning forks in a room. They're resonating at a specific energetic potential. You put them two together, they will sync. So there is a natural attraction just by design of their structure, what they are, via the Casimir effect, if you will. So I was going to comment there, Brian, when you were showing your example of the Casimir effects and you were holding up your hands, there was a very amazing effect of the light in your room that made your hands light up. It was kind of cool. I don't know if there's a reflection in your room that touched your hands, but as soon as you put your hands together, they lit up. It was kind of cool.
Yes, I agree with Stephen. The so-called Casimir effect, two plates, when they close enough, you know what happens? The both plates are made by magnetic particles. So
Yes.
they will be aligned them. The longer time you put they're gonna align them both sides. The longer them, eventually they will close.
And then when they actually touch, at least in the vacuum space, metal parts can cold weld to one another.
Yes,
especially if it's the same
right.
metallic material.
Yes.
So not only do they have that attraction close up, but when they in fact touch, they can merge and weld.
Like a cold welding. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to make, so who provided this video? That's amazing. This is sure exactly Penrose win Nobel Prize in 2020 on complete fault theory. You know, so I never followed what is the Nobel Prize award since 2018 or something, because I said it's completely awarded to the wrong people.
Right.
Well, let me tell you why Penrose win Nobel Prize. He did one thing different than anything previous quantum mechanics or relativity. He's so-called quantum field theory is a part of a quantum mechanics theory. Theory is a field theory, and he tried to solve this wave-particle duality. In classical quantum mechanics, we said, hey, particle can be wave or can be particle. When you're not looking at it, it propagates as a wave, but when you observe, that's called the observer effect, not term particle, does not make any sense. Penrose did one thing I thought is very good. He said, no, everything's a particle. Everything's a wave. The so-called particle is wrong. Okay, so he used this called Casimir effect, and he was right in terms of light, because we say the light is a wave or particle. He basically said, hey, light is a wave. I believe we talk about this one, right? So no problem. So that's why he make an, but based on Yuan theory, that's Dr. Yu's universe. Is the universe is based on the magnetic particles. The so-called wave have a medium. The medium is made by infinitesimal smaller magnetic particles form a cosmic ocean of ocean medium. So that's why when this medium vibrates, these are magnetic medium, right? So vibrate, create an electromagnetic oscillation. So that's he called the particle, and I said, hey, that's generate light. That oscillation does not generate particle. Particle is still made by physical particle, magnetic particle, Yuan particle.
So I have a question, and might be for you, Brian. When it did that, and you talked about the welding when you had these two metals because they were very like, and when it comes together, was that just in a vacuum that happens?
It's also in the coldness of space, especially
in the cold.
In space.
In
So
space.
apparently when they've got astronauts going around like with a space shuttle in orbit, and it's super cold and vacuum, like up there close to vacuum, if you have like a metal bolt hit
Right.
like a wrench or another surface, and they're that same type of metal alloy, then they can literally stick together and you can't get them apart. Here on Earth, you have cold welding technique, so you don't have to be in space to do it. But that again, I guess with the cold and the metals of a like enough composition that can get the metal to fuse together.
So that brings another problem when you're up there, in space. We have space junk.
Oh,
So
yeah.
is it possible that if that touches like the surface of a
Well,
space ship or something like that, would it also weld?
yes,
No.
but with space junk, it's a much different problem because you don't have the debris moving at like super slow or just matched to a craft. You've got the space junk whizzing around the Earth at like, faster than a bullet being shot out of a rifle speeds.
Ooh.
And then, so it's not about fusing, it's about totally,
Hitting.
destructing, upon impact. And that's so these micro meteorites in particular are very dangerous to, say, astronauts, doing environment, spacewalks.
Okay.
Yeah, I can chime in on that too. We're working in the development operations at Boeing in the clean rooms and stuff, because sometimes we work in tolerances that are radically precise. I mean, going out 6, 7 decimal places in flatness and true symmetry. It's very interesting. We use these things called Joe blocks for measuring high precision measurement. They're little metal blocks and the surfaces are very flat. I mean, you go out 6, 7 decimal places and they have to be exact at their size. So we can use them as like industry standards. And they take those in a place called the neutrality lab, which is temperature controlled and humidity controlled. And they have to inspect these blocks every other month. So everything that we measure in the shop has an industry standard. But these blocks, they're so close that how you use them, they call ringing the blocks together. They're actually 1 inch by 1 inch, and then depending on the height that you want, you got them in increments of 100 thousandths, and then they got 10, 20, 30, 40, and then they got them in really super precise, but you ring them together. So if this was a block and this is a block, you could just touch it together like that and wiggle it back and forth, and literally you can't get them apart. They're so closely lapped that they stick together. The key in using Joe blocks, you can't leave them together too long or you'll never get them apart. You have to throw the set away. They're so flat and so perfect. The metal itself, you ring it together, you leave it together no more than a half a day, you'll never get them apart. So you have to always take them apart, put them back in the blocks, send them back to neutrality, and keep them in a temperature controlled room. But the key is the flatness, and because now you're talking the atoms or the particles or the vibrational structures, they're so aligned because it's been, might say, designed that way. So you can get something to stick together. And it's a really fascinating phenomenon when you're in the shop and you see this stuff. You can just put it together and hold it up like this. And this could be weighing 5 or 6 pounds and it'll stick together. That's really amazing. And that's not magnetism or anything like that. It's just perfect surfaces, but it is magnetic related and field structure related. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. Joan, so what happens is they eventually they weld it. You have to be same material, similar lattice structure.
Yeah.
And also the distance has to be perfect close. So that's why every single part will close. So you have a lot of conditions in order to happen. If you have a dissimilar material, so you talk about space junk, dissimilar material, and it's not even flat surface, so you don't have this problem.
So the other thing that Stephen brought up is that when you bring it together, that fusion requires time. It gets stronger. So that, because you were saying if you left them together for a half a day, you'll never get them apart. So that's another factor here. So we have the vibration and we have time involved for everything to happen.
And
you're
heat.
talking about the magnetics and all.
And heat or lack thereof, because for some reason it happens better in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, if you let's say the Joe blocks were warm and you ring them together and you drop that temperature, it just grabs onto itself. And you can't get them apart.
When the time related to the stronger, the longer time stronger, it's just to say flip both sides of magnetic particles, right? Originally, they may not align north-south align perfect, but once you stay longer enough, the residual force gradually turn them, the stress relaxation, right? Gradually turn them aligned, so that's why it stick. Just like your window, your car window. If your car window does not open frequently, your car window and with the rubber seal, we're stuck as one thing. Similar to
You're right.
Yeah. Is that right? It's very simple, right? But why is it that one? It's not about the wave vibration or something. It's about magnetism. Every single particle have a magnetic force create the torque. So long enough, initially they may not perfect line. Long enough, they gradually turn the line. So that's why you cannot take off. Very good, Stephen. That's a very good experience.
Very good.
Not only that, a lot of people don't think about this. So how come glue works? You think about it.
Sure.
It's not a chemical thing. It's an alignment of the molecules and the actual what you call from Dr. Yu's perspective, it's a magnetic alignment.
Yes.
I mean, you can have, that's why super glue works so well. It's a super fine fluid that causes this attraction in such a way instantaneously. You can't get stuff apart, man. It's just the way it works. All your really good super glues, if you will, do work on the level of all this quantum level or vibrational level. That's how those things work as good as they do.
Yes,
Well, now
I
you
was
brought
told that
up
super
something-
glue
oh,
was
go
used
ahead.
in Vietnam on wounds when I got wounded at Disneyland in the Tomorrowland tunnels underneath the stage.
Wow.
I had to super glue my leg, but I used it as an example to my stepson and said, look, what if, you had to go on, there were 3,000 people waiting for you to go on stage, but you said, I can't, I hurt myself. So I super glued my leg and put some pantyhose on over it. Of course, it was really hard to get the pantyhose off after that. But and then went on stage and performed. You do what you have to do. And I was told twice, because it actually kind of happened to me twice by the musicians there. Well, they used it in Vietnam on wounds.
And super glue is more of chemical polymerization, right? Versus, because when we talk about the cold welding, of course, it's metal, and then that brings in your electromagnetic type effects. But then, with kind of a less conventional or unconventional model of physics here, to go beyond that, there are more mediums than the physical plane that are overlapping with this plane or reality of existence as we know it. And then that's where you start to get the paranormal effects coming in and the multidimensional effects overlapping, in addition to all the standard quantum effects that are already strange enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you brought up the super glue, my experience with that is that it grabs. I mean, it just grabs.
Everything.
And I've used it. And then in about 2 years, it lets go.
Oh, sure.
So what happens, because when you think of something fusing, you think, oh, it's going to be that way forever. So what happens, there's something going on that says, I'm going to hold on, and then suddenly let go. What's going on there?
Oh yeah, because the super glue, assuming is every single particle are magnetic particle. Initially, they glue them. Glue them means they use the liquid form. Super glue. It will internal adjust the direction, so bonded to surface. Originally, may not alignment. So that's why super glue has to be liquid bonded. However, this kind of bonding will be eroded with air molecules or even wet water molecules. These molecules are also magnetic particles, weakening their bond. Over the time, the bond were weakened due to other material changing, degradation of materials or environment changing, eventually break up.
So if you're using a substance that's foreign to the two things that you're gluing together,
Mhm.
then you're going to have that erosion eventually over time.
Yes, and reduce the grooves magnetic field may not strong, may not align originally, gradually. Yeah.
And if it's like a non-polar surface or substance versus a polar, it's like sometimes like waxes, won't interact with other things, but then they will, if it's polar versus non-polar, so that there's a chemical interactions as well.
This happens to the magnets too. Magnets where the strength will reduce after heating or what is it? Hammer.
Yeah, shock.
Cracking or temperature changing or moisture or just sits there long enough. Either were strength will reduce.
Right, like iron, right? Iron.
Oh my goodness.
when you heat it up to a certain point, it's no longer magnetic at like 774 degrees.
These are I purchased in the US, the magnets made by metallic material. It's not a neodymium rare earth. You know what happens? Now they no longer attract only barely, but something is strength reduced. Okay, so if you have time, I'm gonna quick go through what's wrong with quantum mechanics. Is that okay, Penny?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I'm gonna quick go through and then I will ask questions. Otherwise, I know you guys you have tons of questions and other explanations. I will never finish my presentation. Okay, so what's wrong with quantum mechanics? Last time I introduced hey, the original problem is with this J.J. Thomson. J.J. Thomson, he won Nobel Prize in 1906. He discovered electron. And so he came out with a model, say, hey, he based on his experiment predict, there's an electron called a negative charge particle. Based on that one, he developed an atomic model. Say we have a positive charge in the nucleus, almost the atom size, and the electron is on top of the surface. However, they have a status, but this model being overthrown by I believe one of his colleague or maybe student, his Rutherford. Rutherford did this called gold foil test and find out the nucleus is a very small size instead of an entire size as an atom. So that's a gold foil test. Hey, nucleus is very small. Now we have a problem. If a nucleus is so very small, so how about these electrons? The negative charge electrons can be stabilized in the atom. So that causes a problem. So why are the Ernest Rutherford try to abandon his model? You know what? He's a student. That's his student. Work in the lab. That's called a Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr said, "Hey, I can fix this one." And let me see how did he fix this one. He said, okay, even though nucleus is very small, we cannot attach electron to be an atom. We cannot let them stay stationary. So he said, hey, we let them orbit, just like planets orbit the sun. Sounds very reasonable, right? But the problem is, if a planet orbits the sun, has a problem, whenever a particle or planet or anything orbited radially, you are radiate energy. You basically in atoms, so you radiate the light. We know hydrogen atom have a light, right? Shoot lights. So where does the light come? Because atom is in motion, in called acceleration motion. Circular motion is an acceleration motion in the radial direction. So this, hey, if you are radiate light, so that means you're losing energy. So then your atom cannot be stable because any certain orbiting requires certain energy. If energy losing, so then the entire atoms will not be stable. But you know what happens? Bohr said, no. Even though acceleration generates light, but he said it's not in all the cases. He said In special cases, if you have a special designed orbit, even though it's acceleration motion, does not generate light. So then where comes that, where the light is generated? And this is Bohr's explanation. He said that so this is a hydrogen atom, just one hydrogen atom, just one hydrogen and one electron. And people say, hey, we observe hydrogen spectrum, it's a light spectrum. Hydrogen does generate light. Generate light means you have an electron in motion. But why you generate the light have a different frequency? And so Bohr said, hey, because every single hydrogen atom has a different orbit. So if electron is orbiting in a fixed orbit, it does not generate light. He's jumping from higher orbit to the lower orbit. Means you reduce energy. At that time, you generate light. So he basically say, hey, he just defined this way, say, hey, every circular, revolution orbit, even with acceleration, but a certain orbit does not generate light. That means it does not consume energy. But if once they jumping from a different orbit to different orbit, energy change, that's the time you generate the light. Either from high orbit to down orbit, you emit light, or if light come in, you observe.
Absorb. You absorb the light and the heat energy.
Absorb the energy. Yes, so that's why. Yeah. So that's his solution, and you know what? But his solution just assuming all the particles, in one plane, like solar system, right? Everything, all the planets in one plane. But eventually, people say, hey, in reality, we have so many different electrons. They cannot orbit only in one plane. So they develop like a three-dimensional plane like this one. So this is probably the latest, one of the latest, the greatest model. Say we use the symbol. Say every single atom is perpetual motion machine called orbital.
But then I have to ask Dr. Yu, because in recent findings in modern contemporary physics, aren't they visualizing atoms and then showing these different orbital conformations taking place around them? So they are showing an electron cloud, like by direct observation, or is that not true?
Not true. Nobody can, and no technology can image inside how the atom work. Right now, just we have no way to identify smaller inside. We only based on the atom show lighting, show lighting or shape, and there's no technology can detect how internal structure of atom. So, but you did mention that Brian mentioned very good about the modern model evolved from original the orbital model, because the orbital model you cannot never stabilize, never balance. So then they developed called the electron clouds model. Still assuming electron either wave are both wave and particles. When you not observe electron is a wave in a different shell. You see, still have orbits. These orbits are still like a Niels Bohr orbit, right? In that orbit, this does not consume energy, does not generate light. Only way you generate light is jumping from a different energy level, different shell. Yeah. So now they come back to the whole Niels Bohr assuming atom is a particle, right? So now in this explanation evolved, people think about, if it could be wave, it can be wave or can be particle. Eventually people say, hey, when you say particle, you cannot explain the stability. But if assuming electron are wave oscillation, you seems like, okay, avoid the particle instability problem. So that's how they avoid the problem. But the fundamental concept is still this is still hydrogen atom, so one proton and one electron, still this model. But just say, hey, electron, when you not observe it, is like a crowd. It could be everywhere, and it depends on the probability. Okay, so now let me see what's the problem with this one. This is the same thing as a Niels Bohr, the planet orbit. So if you look at the quantum mechanics, the entire quantum mechanics established under Niels Bohr's model. Say just this is the structure of atom. Okay, the atom. So each three. This is three quarks. Each three quarks forms like a neutron, proton, and and the electron. So these are nucleus. Electron orbiting this nucleus. This fundamental concept without changing. We just say how to describe this motion, electron motion. We use a cloud model, so-called wave function, and to describe. Now you think about it. If atom, just like we taught, we discussed several other sections. Say there is no electron or proton or even neutron can exist based on the definition of quantum mechanics. So that means all these particles never existed. There is no called a quark. Quark could be a positive or negative charge. It cannot exist. And there is no such called a proton. Quark is also called a positive charged particle. Or electron. Electron is a negative charged particle orbiting we already discussed. None of these particles can exist in this universe. So what they are really existing is magnetic particles. What's the difference between magnetic particles? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So the difference between magnetic particle, if it's a magnetic particle, the nucleus, you cannot have another magnetic particle orbiting a different magnetic particle. Eventually, they're always clumping together. So that's where inside of atom, there is no moving parts. Everything stuck together using magnetic force because a magnetic particle cannot orbiting another magnet permanently without any energy coming and consuming. So the magnetic particle automatically will find their alignment and will attract together. So that's what I said. Oh, so in this case, if orbiting, let me go back. Okay, so if an electron does not exist, the so-called proton and the neutron cannot be provided, all made by magnetic particles. So the atom is basically just magnetic particles, just like this way. I believe I showed you just different magnets form particles, just like magnets stuck together. That's what atom. So that's why atom has a different called atomic number. That means you have a different number of a proton and the neutron, right? They are just based on the different number of magnetic particles they are combined. So that's why different combination, different density, different structure, you have a different type of elements. Just that simple. So entire atom is just a static magnetic particle as formed composite material. So what that means that there is no electron orbiting inside of an atom. If no electron orbiting, so you do not have a quantum jump. That's what quantum mechanics come from, right? Quantum jump. And since quantum mechanics cannot solve where electron located at versus time, they cannot determine. They said, hey, we just give you called a probability function. Say, assuming at a certain time, electron could appear in different locations. So that's what we call wave function. Okay, so if you know this one, the conclusion is the perpetual motion model is a fake model, and the quantum mechanics model is completely on the wrong. Okay, go ahead.
So,
Did you have any questions, John?
yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're talking about the magnet, and we talked about it being in an atmosphere, and over time, it loses some of its magnetism.
Oh, yeah.
And yet we know that if we want to put it back in there, we need to add friction. So, which is a wave in itself. So how, like rubbing a nail, you rub a nail with,
Right.
and it gets magnetized, it becomes a magnet.
Yeah.
So if in the atmosphere, motion is required, that's the friction. The friction is required to get the magnetism to increase. So what would happen if you could actually remove all of the vibration from an area? Would everything just disintegrate?
Let me answer this directly. Magnetic attraction have nothing to do with vibration, motion, frequency, have nothing to do with it. They can just attract them statically. So that's why atom is so stable.
So
Friction-
how come it
Steve,
loses
Steve is,
energy?
wait, just 1 second. Steve is over there. He has something to say.
Well, think about this. The magnet, by definition, it has polarity, right? You got a north and a south. Well, if everything is wave function in that state, what's causing this structure that we're observing called matter could be a coherent wave function at such velocity and such symmetry, you get physicality, if you will. Now, okay, that's fine, and that's interesting. Why are there so many diversified things of what we call physical matter? There's air, there's feathers, there's rocks, there's stone. I go back to the toroidal model because motion is from one space to another space, which denotes direction, which denotes polarity. But if you get this thing doing this precession in dimensionality, if you will, there's so many eloquent spaces using a toroid, the surface of the toroid, the angularity, how it moves around a toroid, how fast it's moving, and then the whole toroid processing. All those combinations, you can get just about any infinite combinations, which becomes your matter. Now think about it. Well, there's a uranium atom and then the hydrogen atom. They are very, very vastly different. The uranium atom structure, if we're talking quantum, is very large. Well, if you have a more unique structure of vibrational coherency, and that coherency is more complex, hence the thing's going to be denser, it's going to have different properties. And here's the thing, each thing like hydrogen or oxygen or iron, they all have a resonance capability to stick together to a limited amount. Gives it definite structure and definite limitations. So, water doesn't stick to this and this doesn't stick to that, all based on frequency, coherency, and vibration. So yes, and it has magnetic poles because anything that moves from here to here denotes a pole, which is going to be a magnetic wave, if you will. Yeah. So you got all these combinations going on at the same time. You mentioned the thing, what if the structure slows down? Well, if everything's based on wave and you slow it down, it has to collapse into counter space. That's
okay,
why,
let me decompose you put all the concepts together. Let me decompose them. Number one, whenever you're talking about the coherent is it magnetic coherent or not coherent? That's one thing. Another, vibration, you said the main vibration had a resonant. Also, first, how can we have a vibration? We have to have a magnetic medium. Only magnetic medium, they form elastic material. You can vibrate. So without the magnetic medium, you does not have a vibration. And does not have a light. So whenever you talk about light propagation, you're talking about light has to have a resonant vibration at a resonant frequency. Okay. So that's Stephen's part. I want to answer June's question. Say, hey, why we have a material degrade, right? The bonding, why we have degrade? You know what happens? You do not degrade magnetic force, individual U-on magnetic force is called conserved. It's not, you cannot create this one. But why say window, say two piece stay longer, they stuck together? Why that one? Yeah, that because they turn originally not the perfect alignment to alignment. But now John says, how can you degrade after 20 years? Now they separate. Because of water molecule, water molecule are magnetic particle too, right? When you have two magnets, perfect alignment, that's called coherent, okay? You have a stronger force. What happens? You have a third one come in. Their axis is no longer aligned each other. They just compromise, have angle. At this moment, their magnetic force is reduced. Now you think about it. If I have millions of particles, or have a lot of particles come in, you know what happens? The strength of magnetism is reduced. The size is this. Yeah, the size. I have a very good. Demonstration, but I do not believe we still have the time to do that. So when you have more magnets together, the strength is reduced instead of increased. But everybody expects, oh, you put more magnets together, you will have increased strength, but actually it's a decrease.
Oh my goodness. Now you've opened a whole nother mystery.
Yeah, that mystery is the mystery of gravity. That's exactly how gravity will be mistreated as a fundamental force. Because gravity can attract, electromagnetic force can attract too, right? But why we say gravity is so weak and the electromagnetic is so strong? The problem is when you lump all these magnets together, your net called the residual attraction force getting smaller.
So now you brought gravity up, and we know that on the surface we have a certain level of gravity. If we go up on a high mountain, it's decreased. If we go down in the ocean, it's increased because when we go down, it's increased. When we go up, it's decreased. So that goes along with why it gets weaker, because it gets bigger and it gets weaker as it gets outward. And then you have all of this pressure in the middle. If that actually aligns with the model theory, then your magnetic molecule has to have extreme pressure at the very center and then dissipating as it goes out. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, yeah. The magnetic strength or electrical strength, it is inverse, proportional to inverse square law. Form inverse means the distance further, you're weaker. Closer, you're higher boundary force.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, too, on the surface of the planet, depending on the material that's in the actual structure of the Earth, magnetic fields are more dense in certain areas on the planet than others. And that's the reason why we have this issue with the drifting north magnetic north, is because it's liquid, it's moving around, and then you got these different anomalous magnetic structures on the Earth that have various densities. All these things are actually a very elastic and movable and plastic phenomenon, what we would call our magnetic core. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff.
Very good, very good. So you explain how magnetic axis of Earth can shifting, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes, it does. Brian, you look like you're deep in thought.
Yes.
He's always in deep thoughts. He think about it further than anybody else. Yeah. So, well.
I mean, I'm just listening along, thinking about a lot of my biochemistry that I got to learn, and or however much of it I got to absorb my good old days at Occidental College in the 90s. But yeah, I think I want to bring in the paranormal standpoint or perspective, because we're going everything from electromagnetics and chemical polymerization and bonding to more of like resonance and the quantum conceptualization of reality. And when you look at it, like at least in this third density conception, actually, that's something we haven't even talked about. The role of consciousness, and how that plays a role in one's physical reality. And apparently, the higher in consciousness one is, and the higher frequency one vibrates at, apparently, the more the conventional rules of physics, as we have been taught, tend to go away.
Oh, great question. Penny, maybe next topic will be origin of consciousness.
Oh,
that would be good.
Okay.
I like
Brian, I know he was thinking about everything together, right? So now we talk about, because this is unsolved mystery, and I believe I'm the only one that I have the theory. And
You could take that one more level too. This borderlines Taoist and Tibetan. There's a Golden Heart Sutra practice, which has got to do with a specific practice. There are, I would say, the Shaolin and the Wudang masters of China. They use what we call the magnetic potential of life force. And this is actually demonstrated. You can find examples on YouTube where you work with the magnetic potential, and when someone's approaching you, let's say with aggression, which is an energy, it's a thought form, it's an intention. These guys have such self-mastery of their energetic potential that when you come close in proximity with aggression and your energetic is more passive peace and serenity, it's like the magnets. They will repel each other. And it's really amazing. Watch these guys do what they do. This one guy goes, I think I'm just going to do my Tai Chi. And this very advanced martial artist is trying to attack him. And he just gets blown away at a distance, or even up close, if he tries to get close to him. It's a magnetic potential. It's really amazing. Even myself, with my instructor, one of the very first things I got to be a part of a demonstration. He had all the students push against them. He says, all right, push hard as you can, push hard as you can. We're all pushing. All of a sudden, we just went, poof, we all fell down on the ground. And he just sat and laughed and chuckled. That was the most profound thing I've ever felt. It's just this force. It just blew you right down. Now, how do you measure that? There's nothing in the room but a human being. And here he can repel you just by the intention of that magnetic potential of what we would call chi or prana. It's borderlining the unseen world.
I'd actually like to blow you away a little bit. John Renee?
What?
Judo?
Oh, oh, that's right. Because when I was in my late teens, I was learning judo, and one of which story do you want? When I challenged my dad?
Anyone you want to tell?
Oh my Lord! Well, I was extremely strong for my size, and one of the things you do in judo is you put someone on your back and you do deep knee bends because you have to build up your resistance. And so my dad weighed quite a bit more than me. And so I did that with him. And, because he just said, oh, you can't do that. So but I could, but a lot of it's like what you're saying. This guy had gotten so advanced with that practice. We can, with our physical muscles, build them up, but with our spiritual side, we can do the same thing. We can build it up through practice. And I think that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
Where you could actually have strength through your mind, not just your body.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what you wanted me to, where you wanted me to go?
I just thought I'd blow everyone's mind because they're like, "What? You did judo?"
Well, I mean, let's talk about that chi and prana, because that definitely doesn't have to be necessarily measured as electromagnetic, but perhaps you can, because we've seen video of chi masters who are able to focus, particularly through their hands, enough energy to light things on fire. Right. I'm sure, Doctor, you've seen those. And Stephen, and then you've also have, we're seeing more and more people online, and I believe that they're real. Drew Banky maybe is watching still, a friend of mine on Facebook, and he is constantly showing it'd be like a toothpick and a bubble gum wrapper underneath a glass jar, and then he's utilizing what looks like telekinesis to get it to spin one way, stop, and then spin the other way. It's under glass; he's not blowing on it, and I'm seeing more and more demonstrations of that, and very visceral. I mean, it looks very clear that the people looks like they're using telekinesis, and it's more and more of them, and it's a lot of the same methodologies, and it doesn't look like it's fake, in my opinion.
No, I actually had an individual contact me because he said, "Are you going to start an institute like in the X-Men and train people?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" But he actually gave me videos in which he was not blowing on it, but he was moving a pencil with his mind. He was moving it back and forth. This is telekinesis. It is real. It is a
Yeah.
kinetic expression of frequency that you are emitting in order to do this. And, you know, I remember being angry at a certain individual because he was late. That's one of my pigaboos because I'm always on time or very early for things. This individual kind of disrespected me by being an hour late. And I said, "I'm so angry. I could pick up that truck and smash it through the window." And he said to me, "Please don't." And I was like, "What are you saying? Like, what do you know that I don't know?" Because people have these abilities, supernatural abilities, to be able to kinetically move things. And as you study these events, which Stephen you have, Joan you have, Brian you have, as you study these things, you become more accomplished at your ability to be able to do things. For instance, start or stop storms. I have been known to start storms. The problem is I don't know how to stop them once I have started them. And many people have expressed to me they have been able to do it too, but they are using, unfortunately, they get very angry and they're using that energy of the anger, and that energy they'll direct it and it'll start a storm. Now we have actually technology, which we've had for a very long time, which we saw, which was used in Venezuela. It's called direct energy weapons. We've had them for a very long time, but this is the first time they made their debut on the battlefield in Venezuela. And there were some videos, I don't know if they were true or not, they may have been AI, of individuals coming off of a plane with little shoe boxes saying that there were 32 Cuban guards of Madero that were killed and essentially incinerated. And we've heard in the media, these things are coming to light. We've heard in the media people that were there that said that they ran away. They were very afraid. They started bleeding from their eyes, from their mouth. And because, were they in fact, burned by these direct energy weapons? And, were they incinerated by direct energy weapons? We know this technology exists. Those that refute it have obviously not been doing the research. And that's why we're here in Age X11. We're here to expand your mind, to have you ask the questions and be able to do your own research so that you will have the knowledge resident in you as to what the truth is. And you're not accepting it from any talking head, including myself, that is coming forth with what their opinions are. Our opinions are predicated upon our historical experience in life and also through our research, because it's very difficult. Discernment these days, it's not easy. I'll report a news story and 10 minutes later it's false.
Yep.
So, that's what we all aim to do. We aim to try to get at the truth of things and to take you from a static mindset and expand your mind so that you can then sift through the wheat, through the chaff, and determine what is true and what is not. And that's what
Yeah.
Awake Nation is about, and that's what Agent X11 is about. And I'm very thankful to have each and every one of you, Brian Singh, Joan Renee, Dr. Weeping Yu, and Stephen Sanchez, here to do those things. We have about as much time as you want, but we've got almost a half hour. So what else would you like to discuss, Doctor?
Oh, you still have time?
We do.
If you still have time, so then I can demonstrate some of the evidence. So
Okay.
I said, hey, electron does not exist, right? Do you have evidence? I wanted to demonstrate the evidence. Say, hey, all the particles are magnetic particles. If you do have time, I would love to use this. Use this one. Okay. Honey. Before I go further, are you able to connect the gentleman who can move pencil that one to join your show with us?
Can I move my pencil to join the show?
Yeah, can you get connected with that gentleman? Say, hey.
Oh yes, I'll try to. His name is Chris. I haven't spoken with him in a while. He was actually born at the same hospital that my brother's child was born at, which was odd, in LA. So I will try to get in touch with him. And Brian, if you know any kinetic individuals, have them text me.
Oh, people with telekinesis?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll reach out to one right now.
That would make it even better. Okay, Fanny. Okay, so I'm gonna show you. The evidence. So we have discussed the so-called positive, negative particle and the neutral particle. If you subdivided them, you will see either contradiction to Coulomb's law, or like a neutral particle. If you subdivided them, they have no combining force, so they cannot exist in the first place, because no particle can combine each other if it's completely neutral. So the smaller particle cannot form a bigger one. Okay, so now I go to the evidence. One of the discovery in muon theory is the so-called electric charge are magnetic poles. You see, I said the electric charge cannot exist with individual particle, but actually in this one, so-called positive charge, I mapped them, find out positive charge actually is the north pole, and the negative charge you can that's associated with south pole, magnetic south pole. So once you get this one, so now I'm gonna show you the evidence here. Okay, this is one of the evidence. I told them, I said, hey, all the particle, the only particle can exist is a magnetic particle, because a magnetic particle is something you subdivide them. When you divide one magnet particle, you form two smaller magnets. So they still have both north and south, so they can recombine and they can infinitely subdivide. So that's the only particle you can exist, can be infinitely divided and can infinitely recombine. None of that particle can either divide law, or you cannot coming back, you cannot form a bigger particle. So now people say, hey, if you say everything's a magnetic particle, do you have evidence? So I said, okay. So I said, based on this muon theory, all the chemical reactions or chemical or atoms or molecules are formed with a magnetic bond. So basically, is a magnetic particle. Is of magnetic particle. So then I said, okay. So I found on the internet, I found the one. If you look at the chart on the left, that's the most detailed molecular structure I can find on the internet. If you look at all the particles formed like a 5 particles on one side is a three-dimensional shape. So I said, okay, can I replicate this kind of particle? So then I use magnets. If you look at the magnets, there's a bigger picture on the left-hand side, on top left side. That's the magnets I use to build this molecules. And to my surprise, this is the only shape you can build exactly as what the picture shows. Initially I said, hey, can I, instead of use 5 magnets on one side, instead of use 5, I can use 6. magnets on. Turns out it were never. It always have a one particle pop up, and not
Real quick, guys, mute yourselves if you're not talking. And then also, Penny, my friend Antonia Lau, she is part of the disclosure movement, and she's a longtime radio and presenter type personality. She has experience doing and teaching telekinesis. And so I'll send you her Facebook profile, and you can schedule her to join us on a future show to discuss exactly that.
good. That's good. Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead, June.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I go ahead. Okay. So I hope by this example, you can. I hope I can convince you. That's exactly what really atom or molecule forms. It's all magnetic particle combined, and I use exactly the same number structure and can duplicate exactly match whatever observed. So this is one evidence. I'm gonna show you this movie, and this is the second evidence.
Scientists understood where stars come from, but not how planets grow from the disk of gas and dust. The answer was discovered by accident aboard the International Space Station. Astronaut Don Pettit was experimenting with grains of sugar and salt in the weightlessness of space. Stanley Love was watching for mission control when Pettit stumbled onto the process of how planets form from cosmic dust.
Well, one of Don's Saturday morning science projects was to take the bags that we store drinks in, and he put other stuff in it, like salt and sugar, and there was one bag that he just left the coffee powder in. Then he inflated the bags, and with these particles in them, noticed that the particles would just clump up immediately. They make a little dust bunny. Hope you spent some time watching that. I said, Don, this is incredible. You've just solved a 40-year-old problem in planetary science.
Astronaut Pettit had discovered something big. In the zero gravity of space, particles of dust don't float apart, they clump together. This is how mighty planets are made from cosmic dust.
Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Demonstrate that in the called weightless condition, allow them a free float. These particles are clumping together by what force?
Is that electrostatics?
See, people say electrostatic force, right? You know what make electrostatic? I don't know if we have discussed so-called electrical are magnetic polarity. So electrostatic force are magnetic force. Mm-hmm. They form together, and this is the formation of particles or of universe. Okay, so this one basically demonstrates that every single particle you allow them a free float, they eventually clump together with electromagnetic force. But in my theory, so-called electrical are magnetic polarity, right? I would say it's a magnetic force. You got it? So that's another particle. And let me show you the third, another example. So electron, based on the observation of all the phenomena where electrons never repel each other. I'm going to show you this one. Can you see there's a plasma ball? If you see those light filaments.
Yes.
Without my hands on, it's almost uniformly distributed, right? But once you have a hands on, they're all come together. Anything form lights, that means some type of motion of electrons, right? So why electron not repel, but they actually form one line? So what's really happening of this one? So I'm gonna show you what's happening inside out. So every single electron are magnetic particles. I want to show what happens to magnetic particle opposite the pole. opposite pole again. You see what happens? Okay. So what's happening is every single electron are charged particle, so-called are magnetic particle, has both positive and negative, or both north and south pole. So what happens when you try to when you have interact two magnets? If opposite pole they attract, form one line, no problem. But what happens if like pole, assuming initially face each other? The like pole create torque, rotational torque, and then attract them. So that make a magnet rotate, and then they align the opposite pole line and then attract. So the long-term effect is always electron is always attract. So this is like a mystery, you cannot explain. Say why electron generally they always form a line. And another puzzle about why electrons are repel each other, why electron can form electrical current flow in a line. So these electrons are repel each other. How could they form a flow in one direction? So now you can explain. Number one, the reason electron always attract is because they are magnetic particles, so they always find a way to attract. Number two, so electron does not flow actually. So because the electron is not, there is no negative charged electron, free electron in any manner, in any atom. So what happens in electricity is the atom itself is a magnetic particle, oscillating, vibrating. So they're vibrating, create a wave motion. So electrical wire serves as an elastic medium. So when you oscillating, vibrating, and all the particle propagates the wave motion and create the electricity. Of course, I have a third one. So this is another experiment. They said that they're shooting silver atom through a polarized magnetic field. If you look at the one side, that's the oven. They said that they have an oven heating silver atom, and that makes silver atom. When you have a temperature, you can eject, right? Temperature create motion, eject this silver atom, and they use a screen. Use one slit. So whenever the silver atom right aligned with the slit, they go through them. So they make sure all the silver atom can go through in one plane. So what happens is they have a vertical magnetic field. One is north and one is south. They find all these silver atoms would be either fly up or fly down. You know what that means? Silver atoms are magnetic particles. I hope that makes sense to you guys, right?
It does.
Thank you, Penny. You are the host, so I'm not account you fully 100% listening. So that's why I always ask Juan, if you half brain or your third brain, you can understand. I believe your audience will understand. So another one is that does this violate the existing called quantum mechanics model? All the quantum mechanical all the particles in the standard model of particle physics. That's the quantum mechanics model plus with a relativity principle. That's the latest, greatest model. Every single atom, every single elementary particle has a magnetic moment. So they already measured. Every single atom, every single particle already have a magnetic pole. Does that make sense, Penny? So
yes, it does.
I said based on the principle of called deduction, observation deduction, come out. All particles can every single particle can only exist with a magnetic particle. What does the model show us? Every particle has a magnetic moment. That's what they measured. Okay.
That is so excellent. Well, we are almost out of time right now. Dr. Yu, can you tell people where they can find you? And thank you so very much for an excellent presentation. I'm going to mute myself because I've got something going on outside.
Okay.
Are they back?
You can find me. Yeah, sure. You can find me from my Twitter handle. That's @RealPenny. DRYU at real.u. So DRYU. That's all.
Excellent. And Steven Sanchez, where can people find you?
Still my email, it's the number 1 and then one word, goldentiger@gmail.com. Yep.
Excellent. And Brian Singh, you're doing so much these days. Where can people find you?
You know, my next main public appearance is going to be March 20th to 22nd. I'll be doing a presentation at the Alien event, or alienevent.com. If you want to look it up online, at the Los Angeles Airport Sonesta Hotel, and alienevent.com. Thank you. Yeah, check it out.
And if people want to find you on Facebook, how do they do that?
You can find me as Brian Sang, just like here, TSENG, and then make sure to add my nickname, Solar Bee, and you can reach me directly.
Excellent. And Joan Renee, where can people find you?
Well, first I want to thank all of you, because getting into the esoteric part of it and into the quantum, and we know that everything is related. So, getting to the point where we can bring those together, and so people can understand it, me especially, because I've got a lot of questions, no answers, will be great. So I'm looking forward to even to the next show. And you can find me here on Agent X11. You can find me on The Awake Nation on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you can also find me on Trauma Triage on Wednesdays. And Penny has created a new show called Life with Joan. So that's going to be next Tuesday. And we're doing conflict resolution, which is a little bit more with my background. So, and you can also find me on X, Joan Renee 27. And I am looking for followers to build up my X channel. So if you're inclined to do so, please do follow me there.
Excellent.
And that's it.
And, Joan Renee is an immeasurable help for the Awake Nation, for Agent X11. I want to thank her for being a wonderful co-host. Her show is fabulous already. So I'm going to close with that as we exit before we do the Agent X11 closing. And I want to thank each and every one of you. If you would like to help keep us on the air, we have an emergency appeal. In order for us to continue to provide quality programming, we need to raise money for operating expenses for the Awake Nation. And David Zubik has decided if we don't reach our operating expense goal by the end of the year, that we may have to shutter our endeavors. However, I will continue with Agent X11 and possibly with the Awake Nation. But we do rely on generous donations from viewers. So you can go to our givesendgo.com/Zublik and donate today. Thank you again for joining us. And unfortunately, we are out of time. So we are out of here. Shepherd out.
Solar Bee out.
Renee out.
Stephen out.
Dr. You is out.
Life with Joan. Life with Joan. Life with Joan. Life with Joan and Jesus, it's supernatural with UFOs. You will always walk away knowing something you did not know. Her tales will unconfuse you because Jesus is the key. Joan shines her little light for the whole world to see. Joan is Mrs. Kitchen Gadget, which you'll get to see. She will demonstrate what the food she makes and green aliens may beam into her kitchen just for tea. You may reconsider what you think you know when UFOs start to spin and glow over the town square's Christmas tree. While you snooze, Joan reports the news on Awake Nation TV. Oh, Joan reports the news while you snooze. Oh, Joan reports the news while you snooze on Awake Nation TV. Life with Joan is always unexpected. What she knows keeps you on your toes, cause everyone's connected. Joan shakes up the neighbors with the truth, you see. She shakes and bakes and she stops earthquakes and helps everyone in need. She gives advice because she's nice, and she co-hosts the Trauma Triage team. Life with Joan and Jesus, it's supernatural with UFOs. You will always walk away knowing something you did not know. Oh, 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 oh. Her tales will unconfuse you because Jesus is the key. Joan shines her little light for the whole world to see. Joan shines a little light for the whole world to see. She shines a little light for the world to see. Joan shines a little light for the world to see. Life with Joan. Life with Joan. Life with Joan. Life with Joan.
Goodbye for now from Agent X11, Hollywood dark journalist, a shining light in this darkened world. And don't forget to watch the Wake Nation News 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern on the David Zubik channel on Rumble, followed by our main show, David Zubik's Awake Nation, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday.